Hey guys, Vinny, I'm back with Craft Vanguard deck profile, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Telecom Scribe, this time we're covering DZ set 3 Mythiarq Stoicheia. So, there's something I want to say about this deck, and I think I said it when it first came out, and that I hated this deck because the day this deck originally was released, like the day we got the news that Mythiarchs were getting cards, and like, you know, Lulu, Zill, and the entire Riot line and all the Mythiarch cards, was the day that I graduated, and I didn't want, or to be more, that the day after I graduated, and that we were all hanging out at the middle of the night, and I didn't want to have to waste time waking up early, or staying up that entire day from the graduation through the entire night up until the next day just to record a video on Mythiarchs because it was a Thursday, and I just didn't like Mythiarch's playstyle, and I thought it was weird and funky. And then literally almost a year later, actually no, literally the day, 2 days before it would have been a year anniversary of this, Mythiarchs comes out with 3 new cards that makes me love the deck. I don't know why, I don't know how, but Bushy somehow waited almost exactly a year to release some really good cards. The funny thing is they could have actually waited till Sunday, because Sunday would have, actually no, they couldn't have, because Saturday would have been they wouldn't reveal stuff on Saturday, so they revealed it the last day of the week they could. Either way though, pretty smart. Anyways, let's go into Stoicheia because this deck is actually really fun to play. First up, we have our energy generator. You may want to ride deck crest when you ride deck. It's a ride deck crest, like I said. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your crest zone. If you win second energy charge 3, then continues to make up to 10 energies and all beginning ride phase energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy blast 7, draw a card. All around pretty solid. Literally none of this deck uses energy, so you will always be able to just charge 3 and then eventually use it to draw a card, which is very helpful because one draw could definitely make the difference, especially if you're me and you kind of back yourself into a corner by calling all the Mythiarchs in your hand because the rest of your hand is just straight up triggers and PGs. So when you try to use Lurozo's skill, the extra draw of giving you a Mythiarch could actually be really helpful. And we have our starter in Mythiarq Polgimio Miko. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that right. Grade 0 boost, 5 shows K base. It's just a free draw if you go second. You can really make this any starter you want. None of the right items requires this, but I do like to have Polgimio over here just because, I mean, you can fetch back Mythiarch cards in this deck pretty easily. It's not like this is going to be your top choice by any means, but you know, if you want to add it for cuteness factor, you very much can. So one of Pegla Miko in the ride deck. Then we move on to our triggers. We're on the over trigger of Source Dragon, Deity of Blessings plus Favor, Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, over trigger, one trigger in a deck. When revealed as a trigger with a card, draw a card, choose one of these. It gets movement for the turn, and if you revealed it during your check, activate. It's a jet fight, which you get to draw a card, choose one of it gets a crit for the turn, and then all your promo gets with tons of power. If your damage on the same number of cards your opponents or more, choose a card from your damage and heal it. All around pretty solid because no matter what, you're getting a million in a draw, so someone's either hitting that turn or not getting hit that turn. Then if you drove check it, you get a total of 2 draws. Someone gets a crit, probably the Vanguard or the thing that's getting the million. Your entire front row gets plus 10k, and even though it's not stated on there, it is until the end of the turn. I always like to bring that up because Bushy just chose not to put the words until end of turn on there, implying that the front row boost technically is for the entirety of the game, but it is till end of turn, and then if your opponent, and then, you know, you possibly get the heal as well. So all around Blessed Favor is definitely like my favorite of the over trigger, simply because I like to call it the everything bait, because you literally get one of everything. It's really cool. It's my favorite one to pull off, and apparently this deck agrees where it's probably the one that sacks it the most consistently. Like Claudine sacks it the most. What I mean by most consistently is like if I need the over trigger to be there, it's gonna be there. If I don't need it to be there, it's not gonna be there. So like me and Blessed Favor kind of have a thing in this deck apparently. So one of Blessed Favor, you can make it any over you want. Just choose Blessed Favor because, you know, Nation over trigger, and I just really like Blessed Favor. Then we have our normal triggers. We're going to total 7 crits, 3 copies of dual pressure Dragon Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. This can really be any crit you want. I just chose to make it dual pressure because the main grade 3 is like kind of a dragon. It's not, but like it kind of, it's close enough for me. And I also just like to say I ran it in Flagberg once, and suddenly I just started stacking crits 24/7. So it's kind of like a tradition now that I just run it on a deck that can run it. So 3 of crits for that one. Then we have 4 more crits on Inspiring Maiden Alana, Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard. At the end about the booster, put it to soul 2, means you get 2k for the turn. So, you know, goes to soul, someone gets 2k. That 2k doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day, but it is extra soul fodder, and if you go the soul heavy route, and by soul heavy route I mean you spam the ever living hell out of Delphina, and you somehow don't hit a single copy of this, then yeah, having those extra Alanas and soul will definitely come in really helpful. So we have 7 crits for pressure. Again, in the multi-attack deck that can do like 7 attacks, you could run front instead, but I prefer the 7 crit pressure. Then we have 4 draws on Serene Maiden Lena, Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, draw kings, guard, opponent's Vanguard, Grade 3 Gerda, plus 5k shield. You know, 10k shield is very helpful. This is a rear guard rush deck, and while it can come back from rear guard murder, it's a lot harder harder to come back from rear guard murder, so having draw triggers to help circumvent that is great. You could also just get rid of the crits for fronts, because at least if you play this deck the way I do, you aggro the second you get the chance. Like, it doesn't matter what grade you are. If you're grade 1, you're grade 2, you aggro the second you get the chance, so you tend to put them to like 4 to 5 damage really early on, so you could honestly just afford to front spam, but I put the crits there just in case like you're playing a defensive deck. And then we have 4 copies of LG Pixie, the heal I pretty much run in every Stoicheia deck, just because I'm too lazy to change it. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, and that's about it. You can really run any heal you want. I just used to make it LG Pixie because, like I said, too lazy to change it. You can make it the counter heals too. I just don't like the counter heals because I feel like they're too situational, being a fluctuating 10 to 25k shield. Even if a lot of decks fall into that category that makes them 25k shields, I'd rather have the 15k shield that's consistent and I can use before they fall into that situation. So 4 of LG Pixie. Let's move on to our grade 1s. 3 copies of Mythiarq Usazaster. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, AK base. All the rear guard unit boost a unit with Mythiarq in its card name, and if your damage does 3 or more face down cards, and you do not countercharge 1, countercharge 1 this turn. Or if you do not countercharge this turn, countercharge 1. The thing I love about this, okay, first I'm gonna go off topic real quickly. I have not recorded a deck profile in like, okay, as of now, or at least as of earlier this week, I have not recorded a deck profile since whenever the hell Kyoko went up, and like maybe minus a week from whenever I recorded it, because typically I record these things in a week, or within a week early. But I've been doing, like, ever since like this Tuesday, I think I have been pumping out deck profiles 2 a day, which is just very funny to me. Either way though, going back to the topic, I really do like this card's skill. I never really pull up the counter charge too much because the deck doesn't really spam CB that often, at least not the way I do it. But with the releasing the new cards, it's definitely I mean, granted, it's only happened like once, but that's already more consistently than it happened with the previous version of the deck. But also just this fact that it's a free boost. You literally just have to boost any Mythiarch, and it's a solid 3 of tech. Like, it's there for countercharging if you really run into the CB problems, and it's just a good card to have, and the deck can pull it off more consistently, so 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of this really good grade 1, arbitrarily, Mythiarch Rimsthi. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, AK base, auto drop zone when your Vanguard, when your grade 3 graded Vanguard Mythiarch and its card name is placed, perform one of the following. If you do not have a copy of this unit on board, you may call it to rear guard, and if you do have a copy of it on board, Soul Blast 1, bot deck this draw card. So pretty much 1 goes to rear guard, 1 goes to bot deck, and you get hand cards. And I'm pretty sure they proc at the same time. So like, say for example you have 4 in your drop zone, I think you can, by some miracle of God, I think you can call 1 to back center, and then you can bot deck the other 3. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Also, this is where your other Soul Blast problem comes from. And then continuous back or rear guard center. During your turn, if your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, all your front row gets plus 5,000 power if they have Mythiarch in their card name. Okay, here's the thing. When I first read this, I was like, oh, being back row center specific, like other Bushier cards, okay, it's not going to be that good. After I played the deck, I understand why that specifies back row center, because it is very easy to get 3 of these fuckers in the back row, and plus 15k to the entirety of the front row just by your opponent being at grade 3. Imagine that going second, and you have 5 attacks, all of them getting plus 15 at the bare minimum. Rizmathe is an amazing grade 1. She, they, them does its job well. It calls itself out for free. It bot decks itself for hand cards, and 5k to the front row. You're insane not to run this out of 4. I love this grade 1. It does everything that I could want in it. And we have 4 copies of Custodial Dragon RPG. Grade 1 boost, 0 shields, K base, contains Sentinel. After 4 Sentinels in deck, and also put on Guard Circle. Choose one mutes, it cannot be hit till in battle if your hand has 2 more cards in it. Choose a card from hand, guard to RPG. Nothing too special about it. Basically, that means if this is only one of the cards in your hand, you place it on Guard Circle, you don't have to discard one, it's great. Because that means you can be as aggressive with one in the early game. Ahem, spam the hell out of these guys. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you, you throw down this, and you're safe from your opponent's attack. All run very solid. You can run any of the PGs you want. You could run Planet Prevent Dragon. You could run Honeycomb's Iris. I just choose to make a Custodial Dragon because it came out closer, quote unquote. Okay, it was the closer PG to the time of Mythiarch's release that was already released. I tend to go by that, like whatever the grade 3 was released at, and then whatever was released like right before it or during that time span. If it's after it, it doesn't count. So 4 of Custodial. Then we have 4 copies of Mythiarch Habitat, so grade 1 normal order. This thing I had to read so many times, not because I didn't understand the effect, but because I legitimately thought it was so stupidly good, and it is that stupidly good, I just didn't believe it. So look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card with the same grade, or less than or equal to your Vanguard from among them, call it to rear guard and shuffle your deck. So if you're on grade 1, like I do half the time when I play this, you call grade 1. Weirdly enough, I play this on grade 1 and grade 2 turn, and I will always hit the card that I need, like most of the time this motherfucker. So if I'm playing it on grade 1, which is helpful, but I just find that surprising that I keep doing it and it keeps working. Continuous deck, when you would search or choose a unit card from your deck, this card may be chosen or searched, which is cool. And if you think that's a problem, because a lot of the times you superior call, continuous, when it would be called from rear guard from deck, put it to your hand instead of putting it to drop zone. So deck thinnable for a free order that literally has no requirements for this. I need to make this clear. This card has no requirements to it. There is no cost, CB, energy, Soul Blast, whatever. It doesn't require you to call a Mythiarch. It doesn't require your Vanguard to be a Mythiarch. Literally, it doesn't even... The only thing that makes this a Mythiarch card is the fact that its art specifies this and that its name specifies Mythiarch. That's it. Everything else, this is basically a free generic card for Stoicheia, which is absolutely busted. But top 7 cards for an early aggro deck in my playstyle, you can kind of see why I love this card. And again, it's choosable by effects. Like, say, for example, you want to call it off of Zero because you flipped a bunch of triggers over it, then yeah, you can call it, add it back to hand, then just immediately play it. All around, this card's amazing. It's great for early game rush. If you can find ways to recycle it, it's amazing as well. I love this order a lot. I think it's great, and typically I don't use promo cards unless they have English releases, and whoop-de-fucking-do, I'm so glad this card has English release because I'm really glad I got to play so 4 of. When we have our last grade 1 in the deck, one of them in the right deck, 2 of them in the main deck, of Mythiarq Illodrina. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto road upon by a grade 2 card with Mythiarq in its card name. It doesn't have to be this, it's going to be this, but like, say for example, you're playing budget because you're pulling from packs, and say for example, you only got the promo for some reason, then you can still ride this because it just has to be a grade 2 with Mythiarq. Anyways, call it to rearguard circle. The continuous back or rearguard circle doesn't have to be back row center. In fact, it technically can't be back row center. It can, it's just not going to do anything. If your other rear guard with Mythiarq and its card name was placed by your card's ability this turn, and your Vanguard's also a grade 3 or greater, it doesn't matter about the opponent's Vanguard's grade, your front row rear guard in the same combat as unit get +5 in power. So, you know, just say for example, you rode to this turn, and you top 5 called, and then you called top 7 called, and you called something, then this is automatically going to proc, and that's just worth it. All around, Illodrina is a very good grade 1. It calls itself out, so you know early aggro if you went first. If you haven't picked up the picture yet, I'm a very aggressive player. And, you know, being able to pump the front row by 5k and, oh, look at that, back row center, these 2 on the side, suddenly your rear guards get +10, if you persona road +20, and God help your opponent. All around, Illodrina is a very solid grade 1, as numbers of the front row, acts really well for early game rush. I don't know why, I really like the kind of platypus bill and like the blue heart. It reminds me of, you know, I'm not even going to say it, because I know if I say it, I'm going to want to edit it in, and if I don't edit it in, I'm going to hate myself. And it's really funny, but it wouldn't be worth it because it's going to get copyright strike. I know, but it would be funny. It would be funny. Either way, though, 1 of in the right deck of Illodrina, 2 of in the main deck, and if you know what I'm referencing, good for you. Finally, we move on to our grade 2s. First, we want 4 copies of Mythiarq Mytharch, grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base. I literally didn't know this thing was a sheep until I was putting the deck profile together. By the way, it's normally I date my videos. I haven't done it in a while, or at least for these last few deck profiles, I haven't done it yet, simply because everything, I originally had an order for them and everything went wrong, so I had to reorder them, and I still might have to reorder this one. But right now, it's Friday, May 24th at 7:20 p.m., so this is literally coming out the day after Mythiarchs came out. I literally went through the entire fight with this, and what deck did I fight today? I went through the fight between this and Spinal Marquee in an hour and edited it and uploaded it because everything went right. Anyways, Mytharch, auto when placed on rearguard circle by the ability of your card with Mythiarq in its card name. Your Vanguard's a Mythiarq, counterboss 1, draw a card until end of your turn. When your opponent will call cards within a guard circle, they must, and for about this unit attacked, I misread that the first time. I thought it was for the turn this unit was placed, so basically for everyone, but it's just for this unit attacked. They must call 2 or more at the same time. So all around, pretty solid. I mean, it still works for the turn. I just misread it originally where I thought it worked for everyone, not just itself. But being able to, I don't know, proc off of any calling effect, specifically this one. I mean, granted, most of the time it's going to be, you know, Lulu over here, but I mean, this is also an option. It's a draw that can help basically be free thanks to this thing. And it procs while you're at grade 2 or grade 1. And it can make your opponent, or forces your opponent out to guard 2 or more at the same time. Yeah, if you early aggro your opponent down, this thing can and will be the death of them because you just stack your triggers on it. Hell, if you see crits, put it on this one so that they're forced to guard it. Either way, Mytharch is a very solid grade 2. Forces out guard power, literally replaces itself by getting you a free draw, and you would think the CB is a problem, but when there are only 2 cards in the deck that actually CB, and then you have a countercharger that can proc off of one of them, yeah, it makes for a good grade 2, so 4 of Mytharch. Then we have 4 copies of Mythiarq Guardian Delphina. The funny thing is, I remember I saw Delphina get released, but I was like, I don't want to run it because it's a promo, and then I looked it up on TCG Player, and it was actually in English. Like, that is a straight-up image from TCG Player, so I'm guessing it's out. Anyways, grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base, auto rear guard once per turn. At the end of battle, your Vanguard Mythiarch and its card name attacked a grade 3 or greater unit. I misplayed it the first time because I thought it could be anything. Soul Blast 1, stand this unit, it gets 1000 power for that turn. So, 20k, technically speaking, if you have 2 of these in the front row and you don't have the CB for Luthor skill, you can just, proc them both and they'll be at 20. And then auto rear guard at the end of your turn. If you have 3 more uses of Mythiarch on its card name, counting itself, and probably your Vanguard, so, at least 2. So all you need is 1 more unit. Retire this unit to choose a card with Mythiarch and its card name from your drop zone with a different card name from this unit and add it to your hand. So this. Okay, maybe not this one, but yeah, pretty much all the things I just named, and this are all pretty much free games. So by all means, for restand fodder, 20k. It doesn't even have to restand to get the 10k. It's just a restand and 10k. And not to mention that they can replace self if need be. God forbid Bushy ever give them a PG that they can recycle back. All around, Delphina is a very solid grade 2. I love the ability that can have 5 attacks now with this deck. I love the ability it's a 20k regardless if it stands or not. And I love the fact that it can recycle. Makes for an amazing grade 2, and I love it as a 4 of. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck, 1 of in the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck of Mythiarq Luruthamata. Grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, auto and wrote upon by a grade 3 card with Mythiarq in his card name, calls card to rearguard circle. Literally the exact same thing as the grade 1. The other skill is auto when placed on rearguard circle. If you have 3 more units with Mythiarq in this card name, soul charge 1. You may soul charge 1, so not mandatory. So if you're afraid of decking out, you don't have to. Or if you're afraid of soul charging a trigger, you don't have to. And then choose one of your opponent's rearguards and cannot intercept for this turn. Okay. If we casually overlook this part, this is just a solid skill. Like, a soul charge, not mandatory, but it doesn't kind of do anything unless you're playing the soul blasting grade 2 that binds something and calls it back so you can proc off your on-place effects. The reason why I don't run that here is because I would have replaced this with it, which then would have actually caused me a soul problem. So I was like, if it's either or, I'm going to go with the non-problem. But the fact that this thing can nullify intercepts, that is so good. Because a lot of cards just say they can't be killed. There are very few that just say they can't be targeted. I mean, there's a good chunk, but there's very few that say they can't be targeted. Meaning you can just nullify interceptors with this and screw over your opponent, especially if that unit is in a weird spot or that's the column they plan to call more stuff to because that's the better column for setup. Aron Lurumata is a good card because, free call literally shuts them down just by riding. I mean, when placed on rear guard, it's going to have itself when it's placed. It's going to have the Vanguard. He's got to need 1 more unit just like this one, and then automatically you get the free soul charge and can't intercept. And the best part about that is it works during battle phase, main phase, whenever the hell. It's completely free. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. It can come down at any point and F you over. And when you're playing aggressively like I am, hell yeah, an intercept nullifier might just be the difference between winning and losing, honestly. Then we move on to our grade 3s. 3 copies of the beautiful sea unicorn that I was originally annoyed about because whenever they upload reveals to Discord, if they ever take a 2-minute break in between, I hate it because I will check actively at the time that they're supposed to put the reveals up, and then I won't check for an hour because they should be done with reveals, and they just so happen to reveal 3 cards at a time instead of the normal 2, which is why I didn't even look for it, and then this got revealed on top of it. But Mythiarq Porkerol is an amazing card and was worth the wait. Continuous rearguard when the ability of your unit with Mythiarq and its card name would count the number of units. This unit may be regarded as counting 2. Weirdly enough, I have not been able to call this card to rearguard, but that's important because auto rearguard when it attacks if you have 5 or more units with Mythiarq and the card name plus 10 as a power, so 23k, which is very solid. I mean, this already counts 2 of itself. You already have the Vanguard, so 3 have any 2 more units in an aggro deck, 5, or just have 2 of these on board and automatically meet the requirements. And not to mention the fact, again, counting for 2 units, I don't feel like that's important. Feel like that's very important here. All around, Porcule is a very solid grade 3, 23k swinger very easily, counts as 2 units for literally anything whatsoever, and that is very important when you're trying to aggro your opponent down and make them discard cards. So 3 of Porcule. I didn't want to make it a 4 of because like I said in my I think it was Arc Raid I did before this. Like I said in my Arc Raid deck, there are some decks where I don't trust the deck being at more than like 7 grade 3s, and yeah, this is one of them, so yeah. And then we move on to our last card in the deck. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of the card I truly originally hated with my Burning Soul, because I thought I would have to stay up and record a video on it, and then a year later, Bushy gives us support that makes me feel like they changed so much, like the deck changed so much, and I know I've changed a lot since then, so it felt like we grew together and just like an arbiter, or like it felt like we went our separate ways and then grew, and then we came back, and now we're just having like a whole reunion thing. Anyways, Mythiarq Luruthozol, grade 3, Twin Giant, Persona 13k base, beautiful sea dragon thingy with a veil. Auto and place on Vanguard Circle. Check the top 7. Choose up to 1 grade 3 or less unit card from Bundle. Call to rear guard. Shuffle the deck. If you have 5 more units, your opponent just card from the hand and discard it. Okay, so straight up, free top 7 search, free rear guard, technically free this thing, and then if you have 5 or more units, including itself, so the Vanguard, this thing which you can proc first if you want to, probably this thing unless your opponent found a way to kill it, so you have at least 3. If you flip this off that skill, you automatically hit the 5, your opponent's got to ditch one. Which, one card doesn't sound a lot, especially because originally when this card was revealed, they released it, or like, it was shown with like the manga ad of like, you gotta discard a card from your hand, so I thought it was going to be an on-attack skill, but being an on-play skill originally disappointed me. But when you play as aggressively as I do, 1 discard makes the fucking difference, because they can go from 5 hand cards to 4, and against a multi-attack deck, that is not what you want to be doing. And then Auto Vanguard, when it swings into any Vanguard, counter boss 1, choose one of your rear guards with Mythiarq in its card name, bounce it back to your hand, and you can choose up to 1 unit with Mythiarq in its different card name from the card returned by this effect, and call it a rear guard circle. So, worst case scenario, you can call itself, like say for example, my typical bounce target is this, so like say for example, you swing with this and then you bounce it. If this is your only option, which sometimes it is, you can call a copy of this grade 3, so you know, Persona Ride, but obviously your preferred options are 23k Swinger, this thing just to get the 10k at the end of the battle, this thing just to, you know, guard, restrict, this thing just because fuck it, all around, either way, like Lurazol is a very good grade 3, single counterblast for more multi-attack, literally on plays, rear guard rush, and make your opponent discard a card, making their life even harder. I love this grade 3 a lot, I think it's really cool, its art's very simplistic, it's very smooth, and like I said, I used to hate it, and it's kind of grown on me, so 3 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, like I said, this deck is like, I like it a lot. A lot of decks in set 3, I did not like. If they were not original decks, if they were decks that existed beforehand and they got support, I probably didn't like them originally. But then after I got the support, it felt really cool because they either felt a lot cleaner or a lot simpler to use, or in the case of Mythiarq, it just felt like the deck grew alongside me. So I'm actually very happy that this deck is the deck that got revealed on the day of my graduation. It feels like really mature. So without further ado, I'm going to come here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us for Twitch. I'll see you all on this one. So send up your Vanguards.